Badgers got another one. Sound the cannons. Mr. Washington, come on down.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. If you notice really quickly, the side there says Will Garlock commits. This is not a Will Garlock episode. That did not update, and it threw me for a pause in the introduction. This is about Jahmare Washington. Jahmare Washington commits to Wisconsin Badgers, 6'2", 170-pound cornerback out of Chicago, Illinois, in the 2025 class. Let's talk about that one, but first, let's sound the cannons. Let's
Fire
go.
the recruiting cannons. Another one is headed to Madison on Wisconsin.
Today's episode brought to you by LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us. Every new hire these days can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, let's see what's going on here. We got a couple of people in the chat already. Really appreciate it. I wasn't going to do a live show today, but I didn't expect Jahmare Washington to pop today. I thought it was pretty likely it would happen, but I love this film. I love this dude's film. So I went in to his film thinking this is kind of, before I watched it, right? I always like to watch film before I do a show. And I went into watching his film thinking this would be kind of that secondary piece to Gentry and Stroud, if you can get those guys, like a backup option almost. And then you watch the film and you're like, no, this dude's an alpha. This dude's a plan A. This dude is really good. I loved his film. I loved his film for a couple reasons. Playing in Chicago, Illinois, so he's playing some dudes there. There's some real competition. But you always want players who bring something a little different into your room. Like Stroud and Gentry are more the boundary corners. They're more the leave them on an island, let them run with guys. Washington can hit. Washington is physical. This dude is big. He's strong, explosive and change of direction. Really good field awareness. Several different plays. They're trying to run some action towards his way. He'll pass off the receiver, take the deep guy. You can see the recognition skills already at a really high level for a defensive back at the high school level. He's understanding coverages. He's trusting his eyes. He knows what he's doing. He's passing off receivers, taking the deep guy, instant transition, making a play on the ball. At times, he's surprising the quarterback, right? Because he's understanding that route scheme so well. It's really impressive. And then physicality. This is a dude. Again, you look at the Strouds, the Gentrys. They're a little slight. They got to add some weight. They're more long, lean boundary cover guys. This is a guy who blows up smoke screens, those receiver screens, run fits north and south really quickly, attacks the line of scrimmage. This is the type of player who all those missed tackles in space against Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State, right? When they're just getting their athletes onto an island and you have to break down and make plays in space. This is the type of defensive back that helps counter those offenses. Really good technique in high school, too. He breaks down, wraps up. He's not just going for kill shots. I loved his film, man. I don't know if he's a pure corner. This feels like a guy who could play some corner, some safety. To me, he reminds me a little bit of Remington Moss, right? A bigger 6'2", physical corner. Remington felt a little more filled out. There's still room to grow on this frame for Washington, so I think he might grow a little bit into a safety, and I think he'd be an elite-level safety. Right, great athleticism, physicality. I love it. I love the ball skills. He's got some ability after the ball. There's clips of him playing receiver. I think there's even, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. I think there's even some potential there. But yeah, you're just stacking defensive backs into that room. This is a tremendous acquisition, and again, it's a tremendous acquisition because it's bringing in something different. Right, this is a level of physicality that is a little unique among high school defensive backs. He's going to give you more of that line of scrimmage run support, long frame, can really get down and cover receivers, good game recognition. I really enjoy this film. This is one of my favorite guys of the class. Cody Schmidt, what's up, Cody? Says it's a great get. Yeah, this is a home run get to me. Now the offer list isn't there yet, but when you watch his film and rack and stack it compared to other guys in this class, I think he's right up there with them. This is a tremendous get for the Badgers. John Berger says, want to hear about this guy. Stacking cornerbacks changes everything. Yeah, you got to stack talent. All right, we talked about it in last year's cycle, specifically with last year's cycle. We said, this is such a good year, right? You get Xavier Lucas and Emilio Agar and Jay Harper, but it doesn't matter if you don't keep stacking it because statistically, not all of those guys are going to come through. You got to keep adding talent, and they've hit a home run year after year now, 2 years with their defensive back recruiting. They've absolutely crushed it, and at this pace, this is going to be one of the strongest units of this team. And it already kind of is. You look at this year's roster. Now, these guys not recruited by this current staff, but Wooler, Rico, and the talent and depth, the secondary is transitioning into being one of the strengths of this team, which as a Badger fan, like, sure, I'll take it, right? It's been a hot minute. Zach Bart says another stud DB. Got 3 4-star guys in Stroud, Moss, and Scott. Yeah, Jahmare Scott's another guy. Washington is a physical 6'2" boundary guy. And then you have Dean and Emmerich for the dollar spot. Yeah, another phenomenal DB class. 100% agree. Zach Bartz also says Oregon and Michigan started sniffing around. Yep, I saw that too. So this is a player who's starting to build buzz. Great guy to get in before he potentially blows up with that senior film, right? Because physically he looks the part. He's probably like a 4.55 guy. Like, I don't think he's a burner, but he's big enough and physical enough, and he runs well enough that he's totally good in that category. He's going to get a little stronger, a little faster. Again, this is a player that helps you on the edges in those under 10-yard routes and those schemes where teams try to get you isolated in space and then just out-athlete you because you can't tackle, because DBs can't tackle, right? A lot. I mean, apologies to Hunter Wooler, who can most certainly tackle, but most DBs on the edges can't tackle, right? It's tough. And now you're bringing in a guy like him. Jahmare Scott's another one can tackle. Remington Moss is another one that can tackle. Xavier Lucas is physical on the edge. You're bringing in guys who have the athletic tools, but they can also come up and hit you. I love this get. This is a great get. Kevin Tassal said, remember when the DB coach went to Bama and you were worried about what the recruiting would be like? We're doing really well right now. Well, listen, a lot of people were worried, Kevin, about the recruiting impact of losing Hitch. But no, like this – let's talk about Paul Haynes, right? Paul Haynes is. I sent this in a text to Justin Rajiv. I'm gonna drink all the varsity ale I can. I'm gonna make sure that contribution goes to Paul Haynes from my varsity ale bucket, because Paul Haynes. You look at the cornerback recruiting that we've stacked up. Paul Haynes is the cornerback coach for anyone who doesn't follow the program quite as closely. And you're looking at this class: Stroud. You're looking at Jahmare Scott. You're looking at Remington Moss. You're looking at Washington now, last year's class, Jay Harper, Emilio Agard, Xavier Lucas. Like, is this the best recruiter on staff right now, Paul Haynes? Maybe Coach Blazek with the work he's done as well. Listen, Haynes is up there, right? And on top of it, Haynes is an excellent coach. Yeah, bro, like Haynes is killing it, and all credit deserved there. A few other things I really like about Washington, just athleticism. Here's a guy who I think his receiver clips, there's a couple of them there that look good. I think, listen, I'm on board. I think he should come in as a corner. I think he should come in as a defensive back because I love his defensive film. If in a year, like that position is log jammed up and we're still struggling to fill that boundary receiver spot, I'm just saying, like, it's not out of the question is all I'm saying. This is a guy that has some ball skills, size, physicality on the outside. I wouldn't hate to see him lined up at boundary receiver either. And get the catch and see DBs try to tackle him because he is physical and strong. So I love the athlete there. All right, we're going to pause here, take a quick break for our friends of the show. Come back with your comments. I have some Twitter reaction to Jahmare Washington, a little bit more on Will Garlock as well. All that and more on today's Lockdown Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at LinkedIn today. And what a great episode for LinkedIn sponsorship, right? Because what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is talent acquisition. Right. LinkedIn is finding the right fits for your organization. That's what recruiting is. That's what Luke Fickell's doing. That's what Paul Haynes is doing. They're acquiring talent, and you need to find the right people. That's what LinkedIn is here to do. They're here to help you keep all the riffraff out the door. You don't need to mess with that as a hiring manager, as a business owner. Get the right people. Let LinkedIn find those right people for you. Screening questions, get rid of the nonsense, bring in the real talent so you can hire it, evaluate it, work with it, and grow together. Let LinkedIn help you propel your business to the next level, because you're not going to do that without the right talent. Just like recruiting, right? Go find the 5-star receptionist. Go find the 5-star accountant. Go find that 5-star printer technician, whatever it is. Use LinkedIn to find that. The other sites, they're probably going to bring in the 3-star guy. You don't want the 3-star plumber. coming in and working on your system. You don't want that. Let LinkedIn Jobs help you right now, get the right people in the door. LinkedIn helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Okay, let's keep rolling here. Bunch more comments I want to get to. Really do appreciate everybody tuning in. This one is from Guy Moyer. Longtime watcher from the beginning. Hey, what's up, Guy? Thanks for jumping in. First post. Thanks for a great show. This class is plugging holes very well. Go Badgers. God, man, thank you for being here from the beginning, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I agree. This class is plugging holes. Now, you still got a couple, right? Let's see if a running back gets popped here. Byron Lewis, who we talked about, was on an official visit this weekend. That's a big one. Hilton was on an official visit. We kind of needed that bigger boundary receiver. Aside from that, and another defense alignment or two, this class really has done a really good job of plugging those holes. I still think you're looking for a tight end. Obviously, Nizzy Davis is on that list from the first official visit weekend. I think that's probably likely still. But yeah, this group has done a really good job of plugging those holes. Justin Tyler says, this dude can get nasty. Love the film. Yeah, this is an easy one to like. You turn on the film and it's a couple clips in. You're like, okay. All right. Okay, let's do this. I agree with that one. Herb Herman, great cornerbacks can improve the wide receivers. This is a great point. Like, this is an excellent point, Herb. We talk a lot on this show and in real life and in athletics about, iron sharpens iron, competition. And this is true across all sports, right? But it's not just within that room, it's across the board. So the better cornerbacks you have, and by the way, this is something that the major programs sell. Let me get to that in a second. So now you're in practice, right? And you're a receiver, you're Trech Kekahuna, you're whoever, right? And you're lining up and you see Xavier Lucas. And I'm saying in a couple of years when these guys are a little more established, and you're seeing Amelia Agard, and you're seeing Washington, and you're seeing Scott and Moss and all these guys lined up. If they hit their kind of potential ceiling, now you got to battle. This is going to make you better as a receiver. And conversely, the better receivers we can get, the Cameron Millers, it's going to challenge these cornerbacks as well. Ohio State sells this all the time to defense alignment and receivers and cornerbacks, right? Because who recruits the best at cornerbacks? Ohio State. So they sell the receivers on, if you come here, you're going to battle against the best cornerbacks every day, and that's going to make you better. And conversely, they do it the same with receivers. You're going to start to be able to sell some of this as these guys develop. If they have, not all of them are going to hit, right, for sure, because it's recruiting, and that's why we see you have to stack talent. But as these players develop, you're going to start to be able to sell receivers on. You're going to come here and you're going to compete against NFL talent at cornerback. That's going to make you better. It's going to make it easier to recruit those skill positions. That's an excellent point, Herb. This is what other schools sell. And the way Wisconsin is recruiting defensive backs, I think pretty soon they're going to start to sell that as well. I love the athletes that they're getting too. I've talked about it before, but let's zoom out a second, right? I'm telling you right now, like, you look at some of these guys. Jay Harper played DB and receiver, right? There's clips of Washington playing DB and receiver. The ball skills for Stroud, like, he's a guy, if it ever didn't work out at cornerback, you could see him transitioning to a different spot too. They're just getting athletes, and athletes also give you versatility. Several of these guys, talking about the versatility of it, several of these players are cornerback, safety, Dollar, Remington Moss. I think Jameer Scott's kind of in that mix. I think Washington's kind of in that mix. You have guys that can play all over, which fits a little bit into what this defensive staff wants to do with their system and their scheme. So I just think it's a tremendous job, like an A+ job. Like, you've exceeded the wildest expectations I could have had for defensive back recruiting at the beginning of this regime. And they just keep doing it, right? This isn't hyperbole. They keep stacking plan A targets at cornerback and safety. And it's really, really good. Tim Frederick says, now let's get some defensive line. I could really fly in the ointment there, Tim. But I agree with you. Yeah. Tim's over here like, okay, that's fine. Where's the defensive lineman? But listen, I don't disagree with that. I don't hate it, Tim. They do need to keep adding defensive linemen. John Berger said boundary receiver and quarterback. They got a quarterback, good sir. Mr. John Berger. He may not be the one you want, but they're not. I can tell you they're very good with Braden Locke in this class. Or Landon Locke, I'm sorry. And I think they're done there. I think Badger fans should be excited about Locke, by the way. I've talked about that a couple times. All right, let's get some comments here. Thoughts from Twitter, thoughts from other things. This is from Scott Burgess, who does some scouting. He said, Morgan Park, 2025 cornerback Jahmare Washington has committed to Wisconsin. One of my favorite tapes I broke down in 2025, has game-changing potential. I love him. I agree that this is one of my favorite tapes I broke down too. One of my favorite films I've watched. It's really good. This is from good friend Nick Osen. Washington is long, rangy, athletic, has the ball skills to make opposing cornerbacks pay for mistakes. I see Washington as a great fit in this defense. We just talked about the fit, the versatility. Osen's great, like obviously long, rangy, athletic, ball skills. It's all there. He checks a ton of boxes. This is from Morgan Park Football on Twitter. 6'2", 165, can play receiver, cornerback, free safety, breakout player in the state of Illinois this upcoming season. I think it's very likely the staff got ahead of the curve on this one because we've seen some blue bloods starting to poke around here. We've seen some people starting to wonder if we can get in on him. I think the Badgers wrapped him up. They may have to hold on to him too. This might be the type of player that as he blows up in the senior season, you see a Notre Dame come in on, or you see an Ohio State come in on, especially if if he's a little bigger, right? And the film is just a tick better and more explosive. He could earn some more offers as teams test the Wisconsin commitment a little bit, which is fine, right? You want players that are wanted. You want players that other big-time schools find desirable. That's the sign that you're recruiting well. If you lock all your guys up and nobody ever comes calling for them, you might be Minnesota, right? Like, that's not what we're going for here. We want players that other programs are kind of trying to poach, and we need to do a good enough job of holding on to them because that means those are valuable commodities. Nobody's after commodities that aren't valuable. I think he could have a breakout year this year. I really like the film. Let's see. I think that's all the other comments I had on Washington. Let's take some comments and let's get into some random stuff. Let's go here. Let's see. Wes Mullenix says, what up with the 247 rankings? Do they suck at counting? This stuff is all getting updated too, so I wouldn't get too worried about rankings just yet. Bo Dragon says, Fickle has been doing great at almost every position except quarterback. I don't think so. I don't know, man. Like, from a recruiting standpoint, Bo, like, you look at what they've done at quarterback. You know, Braden Locke was a 4-star guy. Nick Evers was a 4-star guy. They brought in 2 transfers. They've already got Landon Locke. Like, it feels like they've recruited pretty well at quarterback, actually, when you look at the rankings, especially compared to what this program has traditionally done. Now, you need more production there, right? Tanner Mordecai didn't work out, and Braden Locke wasn't fully ready last year, and then Nick Evers transferred. So, yeah, I can definitely see your point. But from a recruiting standpoint, I think they've landed talent at a level that Wisconsin doesn't typically land. And then they got Cole LaCrue in that first class too. A lot of people like Cole LaCrue. I still really like Cole LaCrue, his film and his athletic ability and his toughness. So I think they've been pretty good at quarterback. They just haven't developed it, which I guess maybe that's the point you're making. Mitt James, building depth keeps legs fresh in the game. Agreed. John Berger says 4.55 is fast enough to run with 95% of the guys. That's not slow. I agree. Like, that is not slow. When I say he's like probably maybe a 4.55-ish guy and he's not a burner, when I consider burners like the elite guys. Like, Lucas is a burner. Washington doesn't move quite that fast. But 4.55 at his size, that's more than good enough. You look back to a guy like Caesar Williams, right? Caesar Williams, Badger cornerback for several years. Listen, Williams made some plays too. Like, Williams was part of some really good defenses. This isn't to disparage Caesar Williams. Caesar Williams was 6'2"-ish, but he was probably like a 4.65 guy. Like, Washington's faster than that. So he's got that type of size, but he definitely still moves well enough. A couple more here. Jake says maybe move to safety. Zach Bartz, Haynes, Blas, and Spalding are probably the 3 best recruiting positional coaches on staff right now. Haynes, who else would I put in that mix? I think Mitchell's really good. Like, Mitchell's a really good recruiter from everything I've seen and heard. You look at the linebacker talent they brought in. I think you put Mitchell in that group. Yeah, I think probably those 4 to me. And then I'd have to figure out how to rack and stack those 4. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back, and just get more of your comments, a couple thoughts on Will Garlock, and we'll wrap it up there. But really do appreciate everyone, as always. You guys are incredible. We're going to take a quick break for our friends of the show over at FanDuel. FanDuel is the #1 source for all your sports betting needs. And it's a great time to do it, right? Football is coming around the pike. We all know that. Baseball's going on. This is a great time if you want to get involved in the NBA Finals, right? If you think the Mavs can maybe come back and launch some juice there, definitely a good time to do that. This is also an opportunity if you want some futures maybe, right? Badgers basketball. I know there's some people in this chat that maybe aren't fully in on that, but there's others that are. Badgers basketball, Badgers football. If you want to do futures, parlays, teasers, spreads, it's all over on FanDuel. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Right now, new customers get 200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Bet on all the sports that are going on. Please do it responsibly, but have fun. Spice up your weekend over at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Okay, let's get some more comments here, and then we'll wrap it up. See what you guys are thinking. How stoked are you guys? Like, good, bad? Are we on board with this? I think their recruiting has knocked out of the park for the most part. And I don't know how you can't be excited about it. Let's go here. Do I like the Friday night opener? No. That's from JP. I do not. I do not like the Friday night opener. It is what it is. I'll be super stoked to watch it. I'll have 5 IPAs and 7 plates of wings and all sorts of variations of Doritos, like at my ready. Low-key, when I watch the Badgers, I sit like 4 inches from the TV on the hardwood floor because I feel like if I'm too far away, I can't catch the nuances I'm somehow trying to see. I'm a psycho, right? Like, I'm a psycho. Now, I don't get angry. Like, I don't swear and throw things, but I am like this far from the TV like this with an IPA and Doritos. So I will be there on Friday night watching it, but I don't love the timing of it. Jake Ionaro's in the show. Let's go. Jake, a good friend of the show, grew up with Coach Luke Fickell. I'm still working that connection to try to get Jake to get me connected to Luke, but so far Jake has not come through for me. But really good dude. Hooded Athlete says no more IPAs, can only drink varsity beer. I will drink plenty of varsity beer. No worries there whatsoever. Okay, a couple more things that Will Garlock. You know, I got some DMs and some pushback. Pushback's the wrong word. And let me throw this comment up here. I think this is from, let me see. This is from Winning Gambler. This was indicative of some of the feedback I got. Not overly athletic, not overly anything, and coming off a broken leg. First of all, broken ankle, but that is a fair point. I'll be completely transparent on leg injuries and big men terrify me, right? That's not a good thing to be coming off a broken ankle. But when I said he's not like a hyper athlete or anything, I mean, he's not like Tyson Chandler taking lobs off the top of the backboard. He's a good athlete. Like he is a much better athlete and fluid on his feet than a lot of big men. Like he's not elite, but he's closer to that high level than the mediocre kind of plodding guys. So I actually think athletically he moves well in space. I like the frame. I think he's going to get stronger, probably add a little explosiveness as he gets stronger. I actually like the athleticism for the most part. He's just not an elite guy, right? He's not I'm going to jump and dunk it on Zach Edey's head type of guy. But there's not, let's just be honest, right? Those guys at 6'11", there's like 4 of them in the country. They're 5-star guys and they go to Kentucky or Duke, right? He's not that, but he moves pretty well. I think he can actually play pretty well defensively in this scheme. I think he's going to do a better job of challenging shots at the rim than we've seen the last couple of years. I think he has that type of potential to be, let me think of a Badger potentially. I mean, someone said Jared Bergeron the other day. I don't think he's going to have that type of physicality, but I think a player in like that type of tier, right, that can give you really good defensive minutes and then clean up stuff around the rim. And that's a winning player. Like if that's what he becomes, a player who can challenge challenge shots at the rim better, clean up on the rebounding, on the glass, be a little switchable, move in space, and then catch dump offs, pocket passes at the rim, offensive putback. I think he's going to hit spot up shots. I don't think it's going to be a volume guy, but I think he's going to be a spot up shooter that can hit shots and hit free throws. I think he's going to be a solid contributing player. I just don't think he's necessarily a star, but you need solid contributing players. So I don't know. Maybe people are off on that. Maybe people disagree. Mr. Wisco says, you got to give guard credit for getting an in-state guy, right? For everyone who's frustrated with it. I don't stress too much about it for the most part, but yeah, it is an interesting point. Let's keep going here. What other comments do we have? Let's see. We got a couple more here. Grant O'Doherty says, sounds like we might be getting an international prospect soon on the basketball side. There is connections to, gosh, I'm spacing on his name. The Badgers are definitely looking for a 5 that can play this year on the international market. There's room for it on the roster. That is definitely who they're going for. So I think something's going to happen there. They know there's a need, right? They know they saw last year. They're not idiots, right? They saw last year we had struggle here, and here, and a lot of that was at the rim, defending layups. It wasn't all on Crowell, but they need to get a little better and bigger there. Okay, let's keep going. I think I got a bunch of comments here. I'm not going to be able to get to it all, but I do appreciate you guys. John Berger says night games are magical. Night games are magical, but I don't love them on Friday. They are magical, though. Bo Dragon says, I love good matchups, but I don't care when they're on. Yeah, I love night games. I don't love it on Friday, but it is what it is. Would you rather have Bollinger Stocco or TVD Mordecai? Bollinger Stocco. See if there's any other things here that you guys wanted to jump into. I'm sure I'm missing some of your comments, but appreciate you guys so much. On Wisconsin, I'm heading up to the cabin next week, so you're going to see a different background once again as the journey of Ryan continues. But bunch of stuff coming up next week. Stay tuned. On Wisconsin, I love this pickup. I love Washington. I think it's a really, really, really good player, under the radar player that the Badgers struck early on, and honestly, they may have to hold in. They may have to hold on to him. So be prepared for that. Mitch James says, let's go. That's a great way to finish it off. On Wisconsin, and we will talk later.